Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies for my tardiness. I had to put my carrots away. You see, I washed my carrots and I didn't put them in the glass Tupperware container to go into the fridge. So I had to put them away. It's very straightforward. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome this evening. Welcome this evening. Excuse me. We have things to cover. I also just thought it would be funny to go through some comments on video. See, I don't respond really to the comments anymore or that much. Because why? Because usually, there's no value in just going back and forth over YouTube comments. Often because they're correct, and when they destroy me and roast me, I have nothing to say other than, I hope no one else sees this, and then it gets voted to the top of the comment section. Yeah, and I prefer verbal. I prefer speaking openly. So we'll just go back through some we'll go back through some recent videos and read some comments. And cover some news topics. But in the meantime, while people gather around the fire, what kind of what's going on? Hold on, real quick. How do I share this? Okay, so also they added this new feature where you can add comments here, which I think this is mental cancer. I don't know why anyone would put comments on the stream other than to facilitate increased amounts of cancer. Anyway, earlier on, the first couple comments. How we doing? Learning magic. What are these bots? Are these AI bots? Go up to the top of the chat. Or what's going on? Do we have bots? With AI machines asking about magic to each other? What's going on? Anyway. I added a poll. This is an important poll, actually. No, I have the correct answer. I'll reveal the correct answer in a little bit. But the poll is between Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. And currently Lord of the Rings is winning. Wow, 75. Wow. 3-1 right now. 3-1. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to explain some things about archetypes. Archetypes to y'all. Anyway, we'll cover a few things. We'll cover a few things, and we'll give it some time. We'll give it some time before I say what I'm covering. Obviously, we'll address some hate comments here momentarily. Now, someone asked if I could stream 6 hours earlier for the EU bros. First off, what time is it in Warsaw time? 1 a.m. All right. That's a little late. What would be a reasonable time to stream? 3 p.m. maybe? While people are working from home, pretending to do anything productive in society? What I really should do is just get on a regular streaming schedule. The problem is, this is such meta commentary that no one cares about. But like I said, well, I'm going to stream at this time every day for the next couple weeks. Or not every day, but this time on these days for the next couple weeks. The problem is I don't know what time that's best to do it. So I have to experiment around a little bit. And then decide. So that's kind of why these are sporadic and all over. Even though I should probably commit to these. 2 streams a week seems reasonable. But it is also nice to kind of just do it when I can fit it in. You know, I'm a big believer of doing it when I can fit it in. Anyway, we'll be covering some things here. As I said for the 5th time. But anyway, yeah, we'll try. We'll do some earlier streams too. Streaming at this time only ensures that we sent our worst. Who is this? Who is this? Who has my number? Who are these Israelis? Surely this person must be Israeli. By the way, I want to apologize to my viewers for not having talked about the Jews in a while. It's sort of it's a kind of moral cowardice to not talk about the Jews. And if there's one thing I am, it's a disabled, non-moral coward. Modern character word versus archetypal writing. Now this, Michael, this is a level of literary sophistication that hitherto we have never seen before. Okay? Incredible. I like the PFing morning shows. You know what, Bass Fishbone? I did too. And there is a world that is very on the verge of coming into being, in which the PFing morning shows return. Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Central Time. Problem is, problem is that I mean, most Saturday mornings I'm generally not doing anything, but sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm hungover from Friday evenings. But anyway, streaming during the evening is good. During the week is good. It's not like I have other obligations that I have to get to. Anyway, respond to my Substack DM. Hold on. What do we got here? Are people DMing me on Substack? That's a joke. I do know people DM me on Substack. Where the fuck? Here we go. Requests. Is this Anderson? Ladies and gentlemen, let's start out. Let's start it off. All right, hold on. Wait, I need to hide my message history. Otherwise, I'm gonna be in trouble. Here, I'll just copy this onto a Word doc and we'll address it. All right, from Anderson. Thanks for sending me the direct feedback. Oops. Okay. I copied and pasted the transcript from your video about Jesus rising from the dead, and Ian McGilchrist saying that the majority of Nobel Prize believers do not identify as agnostic or atheist. The person is wrong. Or more precisely, they're misusing data in a way that flips the meaning. 4.5% figure is real. This is what Claude said. It comes from Baruch Shelev's yep. They're treating the data as binary. If 5% are atheist agnostic, then 95% clearly believe in God. That's not what the underlying study measured. Shalev classified laureates by cultural or nominal religious affiliation, not by active theistic belief. Someone raised in a Lutheran family counted as Christian regardless of what they believed as adults. The category Christian background, but he explicitly rejected belief in a personal God. Wait, Einstein, he's the most famous physicist and gets counted as Jewish in these fields, but he's explicitly rejected. His position was Spinoza's God, which is essentially pantheism dressed in religious language. Yeah, well, first off, this is Ian McGilchrist who is citing that, and generally I think Ian McGilchrist is a trustworthy source. I don't think Ian was implying that a Christian God was the claim. It could very well have been a Spinoza God. Among physicist astronomers, only 7% said yes, in a personal God. That's the inverse of the claim being made in the clip. So the speaker's doing one of two things. Well, let's take out Ian McGilchrist then from the discourse. Anyway, we'll get to more hate comments later. This is just someone providing honest feedback privately. That hate comments must be. I'll have to look into that more, actually. But anyway. Let's cover a few more of these comments here. Good jingle. I have a good jingle. I'm a filthy Euro and one of your haters. Why do you spend time asking if Jesus resurrected but not discussing Stoicism's logos, Zoroastrianism's Asha, Egypt, Mat? Because I don't know what any of those are, J-Boss. And I exist in the tradition that I'm in. I use the English language to explain my thoughts. And I come from a Christian tradition. So it's the only one I'm in. So it's worth observing. You couldn't add any spacing to... I don't think did he add spacing? Yeah, people add spacing when people send me stuff. Okay, anyway. We're 15 minutes in. Let's get started on some things. Okay, first off, let's go through a couple of my... all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up the last... Okay. Bum, 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 bum. All right, we'll go with these last 7. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Listen, I want to engage. I want to engage with my audience, right? I want to demonstrate my open-mindedness and receptivity. Receptivity to feedback. Nobody loves receptivity more than I do. Okay? No problem, J-Boss. Jordan Rodders, $2. Reading hate comments? Pink guy did it better. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Who's pink guy? Oh, is that, what's his name? Filthy Frank? My little brother's a big Filthy Frank fan. I don't know much about him other than that. My little brother, not Filthy Frank. All right. Has acknowledged Bofa. Bofa what? Oh my God. I speak Sugma, by the way. I speak Sugma and Ligma. All right, let's go over some hate comments here. Let's pull up the screen. Let's pull up the screen. I just exited out of exactly what I was trying to pull up. All righty then. Okay, whoops. All right, this is the most recent post I made. These are the top channels my audience watches. Destiny, Sam Hyde, Sargon of Akkad, basically. Some, I don't even know how to just like pop culture analysis of like comedians and stuff. And then Alex O'Connor. I did laugh out loud when I saw this. Nightmare Blunt rotation. That would be a Nightmare Blunt rotation. I don't think there's any real hate comments here. You have a crazy viewership mix, bro. Use it well. That's what we're trying to do, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? All right, so we'll skip this. On the posts, anything? We'll go to the videos themselves. Hold on. Although this one, look, there's some real hate comments on this one I saw. What is the dark centrist position on sex? Essentially, what's the dark centrist's favorite position on when it comes to sex? Right? The recent allegations against U.S. Congressman Eric Swalwell provide a good lens to penetrate the issue. That's what I covered in this video. Bro, people were upset. What are you doing? Are you okay? I want to recommend this channel to friends. I can't figure out why I never get around to it. Good thing dark centrism isn't something Paul seriously cares about. True. Being a troll is so much more fun. Please no more rage bait. That's ridiculous. Embarrassing clickbait. This is dumb. I saw a couple of these comments. I was like, whoa, this is like... I've never gotten comments where people were like, more than a few people were upset that I was engaging in clickbait. Because obviously, I make a video titled, Why Everyone Who Disagrees with Me is Autistic. I'm assuming that you can understand the context here. Also, look, it's not like I'm not aware that a thumbnail that says 95% of men are rapists. Well, this is clickbait. Here's how here's maybe I'll explain my philosophy on clickbait. I don't have one. Do whatever gets the most views is my philosophy. Now, this conclusion here, 95% of men are rapists, is more or less the conclusion hold on, where's the actual video here? Of the study in question. Okay, so, oops, wrong one. Okay, so Eric Swalwell and the 95%, okay. This is the peer-reviewed study said, self-reported sexual aggression, 95.1% of men have used at least one of these strategies to attempt to force a woman into sex. The colloquial description for a man who forces a woman into sex is rapist. Okay? So, if the where is it? If the headline takeaway of a peer-reviewed study is itself clickbait, it proves my point. Now, would they say they're rapists? I don't know. If you use drugs like roofies or threaten to hurt someone or had someone help you get you... I mean, again, my whole point was the study is ridiculous. But anyway, fair enough. Look. My justification for I generally don't do that clickbaity of stuff. I mean, it's like if they are, they're clearly humorous titles. Clearly. P.F. Young. Did Jesus actually rise from the dead? That's the question. When you talk about sex, when do we start restricting technological progress? By the way, also another thing, actually, this is actually helpful information because people have complained about it. I feel like I should make a post clarifying this because I have to clarify this all the time. Actually, I think I can do it from here. YouTube has implemented A/B testing for titles and thumbnails. So when you see the titles and thumbnails changing, okay, these are titles that I put ahead of time because I don't necessarily know what the best title is going to be. So YouTube will feed you different titles and thumbnails, and then it provides watch metrics. Now, is this goofy and cynical? Sure. So is all of marketing, and you could just say we throw out everything. But anyway, so that's another thing people complain about. But anyway, I thought I was a little kind of like, what the fuck? Why are people embarrassing clickbait? Get out of here. But that's fair. Look, clickbait is lame. I mean, I try not to do it. And I generally think I'm pretty good. Talking to a gay Muslim Marxist who's friends with Nick Fuentes, I'm sorry, that's literally description of the person. It's great. Anyway. Let's address some hate comments here. On the video itself, let's actually get to this substantive stuff. All right, so this is from... did Jesus actually rise from the dead? So this is me explaining, or really just showing the clips that have influenced how I think about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. All right, and I'm specifically looking for hate comments. Nobody loves positive feedback more than I do, and I do appreciate it. Thank God for Paul being terminally online in the single correct way, so I can be terminally online in the multitude of incorrect ways and still reap benefits of watching the videos. I'm presuming that the correct way is to spread the word of Jesus Christ, which is great. All right, the Apostles' Creed also includes two non-divine persons. Yes, Pontius Pilate. That is interesting. One thing that keeps sticking in my head is Christianity is unique because of its historicity. You are not just reading philosophical ideas. You are reading philosophical ideas that are squarely rooted in history. And that's kind of a nuanced, abstract differentiation. But anyway, I find observing your faith journey, such as one from my public speech. Maybe this is one of the students who was there, in which case, excellent. Thank you for attending. It seems like something you're doing very consciously. Yes. Hold on. Where is there? P.F. is soft launching his Christian arc. First off, I've always been a Christian in one form or another. My main influence is Jordan Peterson. And I spend 2 to 3 years now where he said he thinks that that Jesus did walk out of a tomb. So I think that's fair. Look, Russell Brand is definitely launching his Christian arc. So, fair enough. But I'll try to be genuine when it comes to these issues. Great comment, Andre, shout out. Oh, here, 500 people saw him, according to one person. Yeah, this is fair. I mean, what people say is, well, this is just an example of people making things up. It's like, well, first off, the fact that there's not much historical document, you would think, well, 500 people saw him and it's not documented anywhere. I mean, these kinds of things were not documented. Almost no one was ever documented. Or there's very little documentation about people in general. So, if you're trying to lie, you can make the case, well, if Jesus appeared to 500 people and that didn't happen, that seems like almost it would be easy to dispute. There's all kinds of the point is whether or not this is true, and I'm open to the fact that this is just not true, that 500 people did not see Jesus. In the same sense, as I said in the video, that I'm open to the idea and do believe that the claim that the saints that got I think it's Matthew, that when Jesus died, the tombs of the saints opened up and they walked among the people in Jerusalem. It's like, that probably didn't happen. But the issue is, were the gospel authors intending to lie? And I don't think that's the case. And I think I agree with Alex O'Connor that it's probably not the case. Just keep in mind, other religions have apologetics that are sophisticated. This is very true. Modern atheism versus Christianity with Islam sometimes sneaking is very contingent duality. Yes. Brilliant. This is another point that Dale Allison makes. So yes, I 100% agree. I continue to trust in the Lord Jesus. Amen. Praise be. The argument seems to jump from the early Christians sincerely believe Jesus rose from the dead, therefore Jesus probably rose from the dead. But sincerity is not reliability. People can be mistaken, influenced emotionally, swept into growing religious without knowing they lied. True. But even today, billions of people sincerely believe in miracles. Yeah, that's fair. So why should we place special confidence in the reliability of people living 2,000 years ago with less knowledge than we have today and more susceptibility to being misled? Excellent question. First off, what would I say? I don't think the fact that people sincerely believed it is evidence of its truth necessarily. I think you have to ask what's going on, because again, people generally don't die for things they know not to be true. That makes sense to me. But of course, yeah. Well, how do you explain the mysticism and the miracles present in other religions? My point is, I think those other religions and these other people, I think people partake in the divine more regularly than we give credit for. Like when people have genuine life-transforming mystical experiences when they take mushrooms, I think that's not just drugs on the brain. There's an actual I'm not having a mystical thing right now. There's just a noise. It's not my air fryer. Where was I lost? Yeah, people are participating in the divine. And so, like when people have near-death experiences, I think that that's partaking in something real, so to speak. And that's Dale Allison's point. So yeah, but certainly going from people definitely believed it too. That must be it's true. Yeah. All right, hold on. Oh my God. $2, and I'm throwing off my own show to read someone's comment that says "dance for me." That's like the Dave Chappelle bit where he's like talking about a heroin addicted woman, and he's like, dude, these people are pathetic. This one woman came up to me and she's like, "Hey man, I need some drugs. I'll suck your dick for $5, man." Dave Chappelle goes, "Ew. $2. For $2, I'll dance." We need a league of politics Brian Shapiro. I've only seen Brian Shapiro talk for a little bit on Piers Morgan, and what he said, and more importantly, the way he said it, was thoroughly concerning and will be referenced in a future video on what does it mean to be an American. Anyway. This is a totally fair comment. Do I believe a corpse literally sat up and walked out of a tomb? No, it wouldn't be a corpse anymore. Lenny Kravitz. Lenny Kravitz. It's this is the sad thing. Lenny Kravitz has been commenting on my videos for some time, mainly putting forward the claim that Jordan Peterson is literally a Nazi. Which, by the way, do I still have it? Wait a minute. I should upload this to... I've been meaning to upload this to Patreon, and I haven't done it because I'm lazy. Oh, here it is. Okay, I don't have it. Anyway, there's a guy who believes that Jordan Peterson is literally a Nazi, like schizophrenic, wants to kill Jews, Nazi. Anyway, I love Alex O'Connor, but boy howdy is he not a historian. Historical stories should be considered more accurate if there are contradictions around them. It's just not a thought-through take. Sure, we would expect a consciously invented lie spread as a conspiracy to be regimented, but religions as a whole. But we should assume there is more historicity to the divinity of Aphrodite because her cults varied so much. But if historical documents are real, like written by people, you're going to expect errors in them. Although I do agree that the fact that there's contradictions doesn't mean that they're more reliable per se. But I would say it certainly isn't a mark against them. But fan fiction, the way we should measure historicity is the way historians do. First-hand accounts first. Well, that's what the Gospels would be. And again, I believe this is true. I believe the claim that, we have far more primary pieces of evidence of, the Gospels and the New Testament than we do, Plato or other documents or other people or other figures is not really disputed. As historical documents, right? Matthew talking about Jesus. There's really no reason other than the metaphysical, and the miracles. From a historical perspective, I believe the Gospels are as reliable primary sources as any other document from that time period. In terms of how a historian would analyze them. The problem, obviously, is the things they claim. So, when Cicero or whoever, Plato or Tacitus, claims, Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon on this date and then this happened. He's not claiming that a man came back from the dead. The claim itself is the issue. But in terms of the historical validity, is this backed up by other sources? Is it internally coherent? Is it coherent across different copies? The New Testament stuff is pretty strong. And again, I used to not be even worried about or convinced of these line of argumentation, but more so recently I've changed my mind. The Bible's like a fairy tale. You aren't meant to take it literally. The goal is to learn the deeper meaning and how to apply it. Jesus was crucified for his ideas, not because he's a little God. Don't fall for the trap of people using scientism as a lens to understand the Bible. I agree with this last part, but not so much the first part. Anyway, let's get on to the next one. We need to talk about sex. Boy, do we. Boy, do we. Whoops. Shout out Survivalist. Best AoE 2 gameplay on the planet. Hold on. We're finding hate comments. I do want to appreciate positive comments, but these aren't really positive. 95%. Damn, the sex too. We should all just stop. Future generations would thank us. My problem with Swalwell was he was a U.S. congressman with access to classified information. He was sleeping with a CCCP. Oh, yeah. Okay, hold on. The amazing thing about this research is that at least this time around, they have the guts to separate per category. Okay, hold on. The only proper sexual morality is celibacy and anti-sexualism. Fake and gay. No, I'm just kidding. The only people who can have completely casual hookup sex and not be negatively affected are those who are already damaged. I agree. Well, no, hold on. Not only. Those people, yeah, like a drug user is not going to, he's going to have a higher tolerance and more likely to survive drugs. Okay, I felt like there were more hate comments out here. I must have deleted all of them in a when I'm what did Roseanne take on Ambien? You know, generally what happens is I will take it when I'm feeling bad, I'll take a couple Ambien and then just delete every negative comment that I see on YouTube. And then that fixes my depression. All right, hold on. I feel like you're overlooking the power dynamic in the Swalwell accusation. It's like Lewinsky. Consent gets a lot harder to suss out when the person asking for a blow could make or break your career, especially for a 21-year-old. This is true. This is true. And I would... Yeah, this is 100% true. Like, what Bill Clinton did to Monica Lewinsky is a form of degeneracy. But I don't even know if I would consider it sexual assault. It was degenerate and predatory, and power dynamics play into it. But then here's the thing: you can't have it both ways. Either a adult woman is able to consent to a sexual relationship with a male superior, or they're not. I don't know. Is there some middle ground that I'm not conceptualizing right now? Either they can or they can't. And then if it's like, oh, well, it puts it in broader context, then I don't know. I think P.F. Yung is... Oh, here we go. I think P.F. Yung is underselling the immorality of dick pics. He does describe situations in which dick pics are or aren't immoral, but misses that Swalwell's case, they're more likely to be immoral. But if you send nudes to someone, that is not really consent to receive nudes back. Really? He does describe situations in which dick pics are... Oh, okay, yeah, this fucking TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy! Why do I even have TubeBuddy? Oh, it's really just... Honestly, I don't even fucking use it. I don't even think. It's just annoying. It gets in my way. I should just uninstall it. It helps, like, to be able to see if a video gets posted on Reddit or something like that. Call me... But if you send nudes to someone, that is not consent to receive nudes back. Yeah, I disagree. I mean, there's nuance, I suppose, is great. I mean, like... But it's like, you know, it's like saying, look, if someone grabs your ass, if you kiss a girl and then she grabs your ass, that's not necessarily consent to grab her ass back. It's like, anyway, but look, point is, this is all ridiculous stuff that is really autistic. Truly, I mean, this is the problem. Is this is autistic? Autistic people have difficulty understanding social cues. And it's a real problem. Don't get me wrong. I think the feminist progressive ideology takes an autistic view, and then autistic people actually struggle because it's like, well, wait a minute. Can people give consent if they're under the influence of alcohol or not? And some people say, no, for sure you can't. It's like, well, that's clearly not the case because then everyone is a sexual assault person. Sexual assaulter. I had casual sex with a friend and we were both emotionally fine afterward. Well, okay. Maybe I'm not gonna. Maybe I should curate the comments ahead of time. Okay, fair. First off, maybe. Often is the case. People convince themselves that, oh, we had sex and it was fine, and the other person was not affected by it. It's like, and because they told me it was fine, it was like, there's more going on there. But anyway, yeah, sure, of course. Like I said, there's exceptions. Casual sex is entirely possible. Damn. Okay, here it is. Damn, Paul, I thought you were solid 5 years older than 29. If anyone thinks that this is offensive, first off, let me say something offensive back. I'm not a woman. Okay, if you overestimate my age, what that's a reflection of is you perceiving me as speaking with a wisdom beyond my years. Right? Not that I'm an old head. And that's fine. If you here's what I'll say. Any male that gets offended at being perceived as roughly 35 years old has a lot of problems in life. Okay? Paul, here we go. Paul, as long as you persist in the modernist view of sex, we will continue to have problems like this. Sex is made to be between a husband and wife in marriage. This regulation is most consistent with controlling for these terrible externalities. It may also be the case that young people explore sex while still young, and they shouldn't believe they have destroyed their lives by doing so, but they should understand that it's a suboptimal way of experiencing intimacy, and certainly should restrict themselves to committed relationships with an intention for permanency. I basically agree with this part. You should restrict yourselves to committed relationships with an intention for long-term monogamy. God and society have a plan for it, an interest in it, and a properly recognized use of sex. Okay, true. I have violated these intentions myself and have suffered for it. Nice. Oliver, shout out for the sex. Congrats on getting laid. And have suffered for it. Sorry if I'm actually making fun of real consequences. And eventually, so will all people who violate these norms. This is a place where conservatism has its right, and the failure or progress brought on by the sexual revolution has left our entire society damaged and scandalized by inappropriately abusing. Yeah, look, this is fair to some degree. Sex is made to be between a husband and wife in marriage. So, obviously within the context of Christianity, right? Because, animals have sex. So, and there are other religions that have the concept of marriage and have, what do you call it? Marriage and, yeah, and just views on monogamy and all that. So would I agree, if you ask me which society would be better, a society that has traditional Christian morality when it comes to sex, or what we have now? We certainly, what I'll say and what I said is we need to be moving in that traditional morality direction. But again, I just think it's like, this is an interesting theological thing that I struggle with, and I talk to, or I've brought it up to pastors before and theologically oriented people, and I enjoy hearing their opinions on it. But the Bible is clear that you should tithe 10% of your income. Virtually nobody does that. And churches, it's not a cultural hot button issue. Churches actually do care about it because they have to sustain themselves. So you do hear about it locally at church, actually. But if you don't tithe 10% of your income, are you falling short of what you could be? Yeah, but to me, it's the same consequentialness of, if you are genuinely being honest with your partner and you are genuinely pursuing a long-term relationship and you are being responsible, and probably what I should have added is, you really shouldn't have sex with someone who you aren't willing to get pregnant. Now, of course, the simple answer to that would be, well, okay, that's basically a wife. You shouldn't be willing to get anyone pregnant unless you're getting married. And that's fair. I mean, there's certainly, for people who have had different sexual partners, there's certainly better or worse people. If you had to have one of the people get pregnant, there's certainly better or worse people. But still, you're right. Look. My point is you have to meet people where they're at as well. Is this the same? Oh, there we go. Look at that. Come on, Paul. Find my comment. It's too long to repost. Shout out, Oliver. Appreciate it. It was like 10 years ago. It's not that impressive. Having sex? Hey, man. Better than... I would say better late than never, but that wouldn't apply here. Better long ago than recently? Maybe. James Calvera. League of Politics, but it's historical figures. First should be Father Coughlin or Charles Lindbergh. That's funny. So here's the thing. I did think about League of Politics like Philosopher Edition. Like William James or some shit. Also, I think it'd be funny. I think it'd be funny to do a philosopher tier list and then I'm just thinking the title of the video would be like philosopher tier list from someone who has never studied philosophy. And then just speak as if I'm an authority on it. I mean, I know some stuff, obviously, but I'd throw in I don't know, some Warhammer people in there or Game of Thrones people. I don't know. Anyway, no, but good comment. Listen. Let me be real. Going back to the top channels that my audience watches. Number 1's Destiny. Number 2 is Sam Hyde. What would be the ideal number 1 channel that I would feel good about my audience? Well, in some sense, look, it's a double-edged sword. The fact that there are so many people who watch me who disagree with me on a lot of things. I mean, it's just more interesting for me. It's nice to make a video and then have everyone agree. But it does feel more rewarding to make a video knowing that it's going to reach people who wouldn't otherwise be exposed to ideas. I really like taking Jordan Peterson's best ideas and, injecting them into an audience who would otherwise, rightfully and understandably, not like Jordan Peterson. That's fun. It's almost a challenge. Anyway, this is kind of the same idea. I take issue with that it was entirely consensual. She was put in the position of receiving sexual advances from her boss, who has extreme direct power over her career and life in combination with the fact he was broadly somewhat powerful. Now, look, again, the Eric Swalwell thing was a lens by which to analyze things. What I'll say is, part of being an adult is part of being a responsible adult is exercising agency. So if your boss at work is sexually harassing you or putting you in a compromising position, part of being an adult is I'm going to speak up for myself and at minimum remove myself from the situation and not just go along with it because I lack agency. It's like with cops. It's like, well, a cop, you could say, well, cops are authority figures. So when a cop tells you to do something, you need to do it. It's like, well, true, but this is why know your rights is so important. If a cop says, knocks on your door and says, let me in, or can I come in, or lets me in, the responsibility is on the adult to know that unless they have a warrant, you don't have to let them in. And to be honest, nor should you. Or you just shouldn't even speak to a cop. You should just, I'm going to talk to a lawyer. Even though in the moment it's like, well, he's got power. It's just me and him. To say I'm going to speak to a lawyer, it's like, oh, well, what if I do something wrong? Or he says something, because cops are allowed to lie. Legally, they have to be. Otherwise, you couldn't have undercover cops. So they're allowed to lie and make something up and convince you, oh, maybe I shouldn't just say I'm not going to talk to. It's like, it's part of being an adult. You got to have agency. And, maybe we don't teach people that well enough. I can't prove it, but I believe 1 out of 10 people will say yes to literally any question they are asked. Have you ever strangled your cousin to death? in a Taco Bell parking lot, I bet you get 5% of people saying yes. That's funny, and I kind of believe that. And there's probably some truth to that. Oh, here's one. I skimmed the study, and to be clear, the non-consent is established from the man's perspective. The men had to provide the explicit signs which indicated to them that a woman was not consenting, the majority of which were providing excuses, explicitly saying they didn't want to or physically distancing themselves. So by these men's own evaluation, it wasn't... okay, it's dishonest framing to say the woman is non-consenting by default. She already denied him and he knew it. And then she changed her mind. That's the whole point that I'm making here. So if every woman is by definition non-consenting, right? If you meet a woman or whatever, in whatever context is being referred to here, no woman in their right mind, no psychologically healthy woman, or, would ever just go, unless I have reason not to, I'm going to have sex with this guy. It is always, no, this person, by whatever means women evaluate men, in whatever your ideologies, whether you're a progressive feminist or a far-right red pill, if it's just looks or if it's just, whatever the mechanism by which a woman will evaluate whether or not they're willing to sleep with a man, they start off by saying no, and they might even say, no, I'm not going home with you tonight. But then if he spits game, if he flatters her and he proves that he's charming, and she goes, okay, you know what? I will have sex with a guy. It's like women are allowed to change. I know this is... See, if I was a bad faith person, I'd be like, you fucking dumbass. Don't you know that women are allowed to change their mind? Sorry, I hate being campy. By the way, FYI, reminder, for those in the Discord, in 10 minutes, the Ivory Tower Dungeons and Dragons session will be starting in 10 minutes. Dungeon Master Michael is conducting it. Please make sure you have everything ready. Michael, I presume that you installed the D&D bot that you need. So let me know if not. But anyway. What else? Fuck you. But Paul, sex work is work, so sex isn't special, but also sex is the absolute most sacred thing, and any improper sexual conduct should be met with total life destruction. Careful, everyone, of far-right fascist John Pike in my comment section. So he says, Salam alaikum, and may you be happy at peace. One time we'd like to send you something on the Quran. May your intellectual journey be smooth and blessed. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone may email me anytime. Often I don't reply, but if someone sits down and takes the time, that's not even true, because sometimes I get emails from schizos who sit down and take a lot of time and send me 6 paragraphs. And I'm not saying schizos in the bad, well, I guess I am kind of saying it in the bad way of, I can't read everyone's philosophical treatise. That doesn't mean it's not good. But if you think, sorry, I'm going all over the place. If you think you have a good idea, part of the evidence of the goodness of the idea is not just that it's logically coherent or that the idea is good. It's that you've been able to do something with that idea. So I'm much more likely to respond to people who have a Substack or something, or a channel where they put out ideas and they have a portfolio of work. So anyway, all right, let's go to this other one. Oh wait, this is not it. Okay, can't even exit out of my thing here. Hold on. Let's go to the evolution one. Fucking. All right. It's fine. It's no big deal. All right. This is my video about evolutionary biology. Excuse me, about evolutionary biology. It's a video about. Why is it doing this? Is God directing the course of evolution? Is consciousness directing the course of evolution? The third way in evolution. Let's see what some of the hate is. Got a lot of Destiny fans out here. Of course we descended from monkeys, but I have to remind my son, that's only his mom's side of the family. S tier. Pretty sure evolution occurs when you consume an evolution stone. See, this is good stuff. This is, because here's the thing, let's be real. Let's be real. And actually, I know this is true right now. I can statistically prove it right now. There are about 80 people watching this stream. The overwhelming majority of you are don't even have the chat open. Some of you may not even see it. You might just be watching me. The overwhelming majority of people who watch my videos don't comment at all. And that's because, I don't want to offend anybody, but because the overwhelming majority of people are normal, well-adjusted people. And normal, well-adjusted people don't leave YouTube comments. I'm kidding. I'm half kidding. So when the top comments are funny like this, that's hilarious. That's great. Because it's just like, that's classic comedy. I mean, it's fun to leave it's a fun, what more specifically, most well-adjusted people who like a video don't leave a comment just because they're not used to it. More importantly, people who don't like a video tend not to leave a pissy comment. I leave comments on YouTube videos every now and then that are like me trying to genuinely leave honest critique or feedback. But this is hilarious. I do love it when the top comments are just like, it's like Reddit upvotes who can leave the funniest comment. That's good stuff. I used to love playing the game Spore, which is a good game about evolution, and I always believed that game was a representation of God guiding evolution. I couldn't tell if this was like, listen, I may be a little autistic here. Is this mocking the point of the video, or is that, I played Spore. Spore was a good game. Are you calling me not well-adjusted for making a Pokemon joke? You're right, but I don't appreciate it. Listen, who said it? I'm always an asshole. Never wrong, though. Also, I didn't even know that was a Pokemon reference. Which is, I think it's funnier that if there was no reference, it's just some generic reference. Evolution happens when you consume an evolution stone. That's funny. Paul is so good at isolating threads of important esoteric knowledge, which are spread very thinly across multiple 4-hour videos, and succinctly explain. Honestly, I might pick this one out as comment of the month because I do appreciate it. Bob Wilkinson guitar 6142. I do appreciate that. That is I do think that is one of the few. Well, I mean, I guess every journalist. Not that I'm a journalist, but a journalist, a researcher looks across multiple sources and consolidates things. This is the point about we are not in the age of information anymore. We're in the age of curation. The competitive advantage is not who can generate new knowledge. The competitive advantage, maybe that's the wrong term. The valuable skill, the pro-socially valuable skill is looking out across the endless landscape of infinite information and being able to curate the most important parts. It's also why I don't post like every conversation I have, or I don't leave full streams up. Part of my responsibility is, if I'm going to post something on my channel, the first criteria should be, is this worth posting? And even though, look, I've clicked on old streams of mine, and I've laughed out loud at my own comment during a stream, which is pretty rare. I know it's hard to believe. I know I'm the type of guy that laughs at his. First off, I absolutely laugh at my own jokes too much in the moment. Generally, it's pretty rare that I laugh at my own like videos after the fact. But like, you know, I've done hundreds of hours of streams, so I'll go back to a random one from like a year ago if I'm trying to find like a topic. And then I see me say something and I chuckle out loud. I'm like, damn, I'm starting to see what other people are starting to see maybe. But anyway, this is all just sucking my own eggs, but I do appreciate it. Hold on. There were some good hate comments here. Critical comments, I mean. I'm not, but like again, you are not arguing for the existence of intelligent design. You're arguing that the social aspect of an organism has an impact on partner selection. So how are we concluding or at least hinting that it's intelligent design? I would argue you're not really putting anything new forward. Yeah, well, this is exactly the case. I'm not putting anything new forward. I'm identifying a pattern that has been out there for a while. I would argue you're not really putting, as Dawkins has also said, it's the same as the Baldwin effect, just slightly more fleshed out. My point is something like this. I'm not saying it's an. Yeah, listen, nobody loves Ludwig von Wittgenstein more than I do. Is it Ludwig von Wittgenstein? Or is it just Ludwig Wittgenstein? I'm so dumb. I think it's just Ludwig Wittgenstein. Yeah. That's embarrassing. Nobody loves Ludwig Wittgenstein more than I do. It all comes down to language. So when I say like I'm not like if to the degree that I'm sympathetic to intelligent design, I'm saying it all depends on what you mean by intelligent design. If you mean there seems to be a telos, there seems to be forces beyond random mutation that are directing the force of evolution. Like if you could say consciousness is directing the trajectory of evolution, that's kind of like intelligent design. And if you say, no, intelligent design is creationism, God literally created people and it says evolution's not true, obviously I don't believe that. But dark centrism, baby. You know, if like it's trying to rob the people you disagree with of their good ideas. So when intelligent design people like Stephen Meyer put forward a challenge to just evolution by random mutation, and other people who are not intelligent design people echo that, it's like, okay, well then there's at least something here. That's my point. This is basic dark centrism, ladies and gentlemen. Basic dark centrism. Paul, it's a huge leap to go from there's possibly some social selection that potentially has effects on evolution of a species to God-guided evolution. Agreed. It's a huge leap. One might say it's a leap of faith and requires a religious belief, and this alone is not enough, and I would agree. What evidence is there for the premise that evolution is consciously guided other than belief? What evidence is there for the premise that evolution is consciously guided other than belief? See, this is a Reddit atheist conceptualization of the world. It's like saying, what evidence? It's like describing a potential theory, describing a mechanism, is using reasoning and logic, inductive reasoning, and or deductive reasoning. That's a kind of evidence. This idea that evidence is like data. This is, it goes back to like philosophy 101. Technically, you have no evidence that the sun will rise tomorrow, because the future is not guaranteed to be like the past. You can be more or less certain. You can make predictions about what will happen based on the past and say, I'm going to predict that the sun will rise tomorrow, which it might not. It might explode in between now and then. And so it's the idea. It's like, well, what is your evidence that, what's your evidence that you think that, I don't know, I should have a better analogy at hand if I'm going to accuse someone of being a Reddit atheist. That's it's a heavy charge. So I should back up my beliefs more. Anyway, my point is, it's called deductive reasoning. He's putting forward a hypothesis that the current mechanism as we understand it isn't enough. Here's potentially an alternative mechanism. And I don't even think he posits. Also, and hold on, maybe this is a great question. I should look into, what's his name, Mark Levin or whatever, the guy that Ian McGilchrist emphasizes, and perhaps I should do that more. But look, I got, between reading about transgender children and the Holocaust, I just don't have a lot of, I can't read everything, you know? I got to read the stuff that interests me. Oh my God. I'm deranged. Professor Dave can be an insulting asshole, but unfortunately that's what's needed to combat the wave of quacks and grifters. I swear to God, my audience has some serious BDS, all right? There's some serious BDS with my audience, which is Brett Derangement Syndrome. BWDS. Y'all motherfuckers got BWDS, Brett Weinstein Derangement Syndrome. To say that Brett is a quack and a grifter, it's just like, again, I watched his conversation with Michael Shermer. It's a very simple, it's not very simple. This is how I would describe it. And again, it's like, I can't appeal to everyone, okay? Like, if I say, hey, I think Jordan Peterson gives good clinical psychological advice, there's people say, no, it's all nonsense and bullshit. I'm like, okay, I'm not even going to attempt to address that. Those are not my vassals, okay? Maybe one of my viewers, who knows those people, can communicate to them without even mentioning Jordan Peterson. That's fine. Be indirect vassals, but those are not my vassals. I don't have time to deal with it. But just, it's goofy. Jordan Peterson's guide to being a... Hold on. Dude, I really got to delete 2, buddy. 1 in 10 dentists don't recommend brushing might actually be correct. Strawman. I don't engage with strawman. Evolution being influenced by consciousness is not a new idea. Correct. Sexual selection is broadly accepted as a strong force. Correct. See animals that evolve traits which are not strictly advantageous. Yep. With enormous... Yep. Correct. Everything he says here is correct. Well said. As someone who grew up watching the news... Gods, leprechauns, centaurs, and all sorts of mythical creatures. Unbelievable. Yeah, why change it? Again, A/B testing, ladies and gentlemen. No reason that you should know that unless you have a YouTube channel, so I don't blame anyone. But YouTube, whatever. Fuck Professor Dave. The dude sent me 2 paragraphs cussing me out, asking why he had to be so vulgar and rude to everyone he disagrees with it. Everyone who disagreed. Yeah, that's a sign. Look, I don't even respond to my hate. You know, I'm doing a live stream where I literally go comment by comment and address them. And I was about to say, I don't even respond to my haters. I would never sit down and write out an email to one person. I will do this publicly for the sake of transparency and content, one might say. But God, to be the kind of person who responds to a singular email criticizing you. And also, I don't even know if it's true. You know how people say there's no... Oh, come on, guys. Come on. Let me tell you. Again, I don't know. Look, I don't want to be mean. Although they're kind of bringing it on themselves. I'll give you some personal insight. This is a true description of my lived experience. I need you to know this. There is not a human alive, especially an honest, genuine person, who, when putting ideas out publicly and putting themselves out there, who does not feel some negativity when people leave critical comments or backhanded comments or whatever. No one is unaffected by that. I do believe, given how much I've got it, I take it from all sides here, ladies and gentlemen, all sides and in every orifice, metaphorically. I think I'm better than many at handling it. One of the things, though, that has immunized me to feeling that concerned about comments is talking to people who leave the kind of comments that annoy me and then seeing what kind of people they are and hearing them talk. I've seen videos of people like responding to my videos and they do a reaction to my video. And I'm like, I'm actually an idiot for even taking the written comments seriously. And it's just funny because it's just like, after this, I think you should make a video on why the horoscope is actually correct because 3 out of 10,000 scientists say so. Ha 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 ha. Like, what kind of person sits there and types out the whole ha 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 all the way? It's just funny. It's just interesting. Okay. Hegel vindicated. Based. All right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like I've responded to my haters enough. Okay? I instead, damn, bro, people leave a lot of comments on my videos, which I appreciate. That's great. It's great. Especially ones that offer genuine opinions and feedback, not just like dipshit or genuinely funny stuff. I get a kick out of having an audience with a strong sense of humor. Warms my heart. I do want to apologize, and I do need to get to something, because let me just real quick show you guys something. I don't think, whoops. So my last couple videos, okay, TubeBuddy is malware. This thing is pointless. I actually don't think I use it for anything. So I'm actually going to get rid of it right now. I don't know when the last time I used it was. I'll probably figure out that I was using it somehow, but okay, thank you. Anyway, you'll notice here, ladies and gentlemen, you'll notice that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have gone 7 videos since April 5th. That's 2 weeks without talking about the Jews. And I would like to apologize because that's a form of moral cowardice, as I said earlier. Only a true coward would not address the Jewish question. So anyway, so let's talk about the JQ, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, no, I do have something fun and interesting to show. All right, first off, ladies and gentlemen, I open up Twitter, and I'm immediately bombarded. 19 notifications. What's going on? Am I getting canceled? I'm not even going to look. I know what it is, but I'm not going to look. What I do need to find is this. Sorry, if I'm going to talk about the Jews, I need to look like Richard Spencer. Anyway. So the streamer Destiny tweeted, "This is a good meme because it's 100% true and would trigger the fuck out of almost everyone who reads it, regardless of the position on Israel-Palestine." Right off the bat, very dark centrist, okay? If it pisses off pro-Palestine people, pro-Israel people, and Nazis and actual anti-Semites, very dark centrist. And, Destiny is, of course, one of Israel's strongest supporters. And so the fact that he tweets this out is interesting. Let's review this meme. I do love that meme format. By the way, let's update the title of the stream so we're accurate. I just call it the Jewish question. Listen, I'm always at the helm of the battleship, and I'm always asking myself, how much collateral damage am I willing to cause? Let's talk about the Jews, okay? Anyway. Okay, what can we say about this? Well, we can say a lot about what can we say about this? We can say a lot of things about it, that's for sure. The most important thing I would say is that it's an acknowledgement of the Jewish supremacist extremism. It's interesting that this person presumably is pro-Israel. And he said he gives subhuman degenerates such as Ben Gvir political power in order to appeal to Judeo-jihadist third worldists. Judeo-jihadists. So people will call Jewish supremacist extremists Judeo-Nazis if they're coming from Nazis are the worst people in my moral framework. And then other people will call them Judeo-jihadists if Islamists are the worst people in your moral framework. Point is, Jewish supremacy is real. Okay? And it's an interesting heuristic. Someone who is very pro-Israel, famously for defending Israel in that debate with Norman Finkelstein, is saying things like this. You should be paying attention. Okay? Now, the claim, Israel is rapidly becoming a Muslim-style theocracy for Talmudics and moving away from the West. May I defer you to the Nick Fuentes of the Jews, Yishai Fleischer. I highly recommend everyone follow and listen, okay? Why is he Nick Fuentes of the Jews? Funny, charismatic, strong in terms of rhetoric, racist. Here's what he has to say about Israel.
It's not a Western country, but Israel identifies as a Western democracy.
Oh, really?
It's a Western country supported by the U.S.
Thank you so much for telling me what Israel identifies as. That's fabulous. But let me tell you something. I don't see it that way at all. We are a Middle East country with a Middle East people. We're an ancient people from this area. A majority of Israelis are Sephardic from Arabic countries. So do me a favor. Don't sell me that old line like, we're the only democracy in the Middle East. Like, we have some Western elements. We have some Western elements. We have some democratic elements in our country, but this is a Middle East country that needs to survive in the Middle East. Okay, and so that's the way we have to think about things. Also, we're not an American-style country since we are not a democracy for all its people, but a national ethnic state. So therefore, we're much more like Middle East countries. I don't like the haughty attitude. I don't like the condescending attitude towards my Arab cousins around here. Okay. This is a region. I'm not here to be way better than the Arabs. That's a total like American Jewish like mythology that has been created. That's not my attitude at all. My attitude is survival. I'm here to survive, and I'm here to push back against bad guys. And I absolutely do not I do not throw off the rules of the Middle East. It's part of the ways to survive around here. I accept the rules of the Middle East, and I'm a Middle Easterner.
So Yishai Fleischer is a subtler himself and a Jewish supremacist. And, proving the point that Israel is not a bastion of Western civilization, but rather a Middle Eastern theocracy based on Talmudics and subtlers. And there's a little, European supremacy going on in here. And of course, the Nazis are like, well, Jews aren't even European to begin with. So the whole thing is, it's an interesting meme. Now, let me put this in perspective, ladies and gentlemen. Let me put this in perspective for you. Hold on. What's a good still photo here? Bill Maher. I'm clicking right here, and it's not showing me what all together. Anyway, whoops. Dude. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Well, how do I want to say this? The key kind of, is it the key point, the fundamental point? One key point that one might take from this is that Jewish supremacy and extremism is real, and we're at a point with Jewish culture and Jewish identity and Israel that we were at with Islam. What do I mean by that? Sam Harris famously had a bit of a spat with Ben Affleck. And I want you to just simply look at the parallels between what Sam Harris says about Islam and just everything he says about Islam, replace it with Judaism. Okay?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the crucial point of confusion is that we have been sold this meme of Islamophobia, where every criticism of the doctrine of Islam gets conflated with bigotry toward Muslims as people.
Right.
And that is it's intellectually ridiculous. Even it gets
so hold on. Are
racist.
You the person who understands the officially codified doctrine of Islam?
Okay, in order to not get copyright struck, I have to pause it and intersperse it with original commentary to protect fair use. But true, we've been sold a meme that any criticism of Islam must be criticisms of Muslim people, which is of course nonsense. The same is true with anti-Semitism. We've been sold this meme of anti-Semitism that any criticism of any criticism of Jewish identity or Jewish cultural practice or ideologies related to Judaism must be a critique of people with Jewish genetics. Wrong.
Well, no,
It really isn't.
I'm not denying that certain people are bigoted against Muslims as people.
Right.
And that's a
That's
problem.
big of you.
But
To be clear, I'm not denying that there are bigotry against Jewish people of Jewish genes. In fact, that's the definition of anti-Semitism. A good definition of anti-Semitism. Hatred of Jewish people on the basis of their genetics. Viewing people who have different genetics from you as your enemy. And there are, of course, Nazis and anti-Semites.
But why are you so hostile about this? It's gross. It's racist.
It's not. But it's so not.
It's like saying
It's
those
so not.
You're shifty Jew.
You're not listening
Absolutely
to
not.
what we are saying.
You guys.
Sam Harris, trying to levy very reasonable criticism against Islam, gets called racist and anti-Semitic. It's so bad that he compared it to anti-Semitism, because that's how morally salient anti-Semitism is in our culture. Anyway, here's the most interesting part, because this is what's going to ground things for us.
Let me unpack this. Let me unpack this for you.
Please do. I've been waiting.
We have
Luggage has been sitting there packed
just
up.
imagine some concentric circles here. You have at the center, you have jihadists. These are people who wake up in the morning wanting to kill apostates, wanting to die trying. They believe in paradise. They
Horrible, bad
believe
people
in martyrdom. Outside of them, we have Islamists. These are people who are just as convinced of martyrdom and paradise and wanting to foist their religion on the rest of humanity, but they want to work within the system. They're not going to blow themselves up on a bus. They want to change governments. They want to use democracy against itself. Those two circles arguably are 20% of the Muslim world. Okay, this is not the
What are you
fringe of the
basing
fringe.
that research on?
A bunch of poll results that we can talk about.
So Sam Harris brings some data that says, look, there is concerning, just factual information concerning extremism within Islam. Again, everything Sam Harris says about Islam, let's just compare it to what we would say if we were saying it about Judaism. Oh, would you look at this? I do my research ahead of time. From the Jerusalem Post, 10% of Israeli Jews think terrorist Baruch Goldstein is a national hero. Baruch Goldstein was a Jewish settler and terrorist who massacred 29 Palestinians in the Cave of the Patriarchs in Hebron in 1994. So I know, hey, we're reading a news article. Hey, there was a Jewish match. It's like someone called Baruch Goldstein walked into a mosque and unloaded upon women and children, gunned them down, bullets tearing through brains, all the stuff that we're desensitized to for a variety of reasons. 1 out of 10 think he's a national hero. This is 2003. We don't know what it is now, since this was prior to October 7th, which was 2023. Unless my timelines are correct. Was October 7th 2023 or 2024? It was 2023, yeah. Coming up on 3 years. 10% think he's a national hero. Now, 57% said they thought he was a terrorist. Okay, that's good. That's relevant. Again, over and over and over again, it must be said and should be said and will be said. Anyone who thinks that it's Jews as such that are the problem, you are a degenerate, demented fool. The survey results are not surprising. They are a direct result of a policy turning a blind eye to settler violence and Jewish terrorism that has been going on for years. The survey makes it clear Jewish terrorism is not a matter of random weeds and has significant support in the Israeli public, which cannot be separated of generations of military control over a civilian population. So the video about Judeo-jihadists, this is what's being referred to here. And we should be able to talk about it openly and not be called bigoted for talking about that. And of course you can. I get called bigoted because I say Zog and I talk about the Jewish question. But that's only because I am engaging in a mild form of iconoclasm. Of just saying, look, I think that accusations of anti-Semitism are so thoroughly thrown out over and over again that I'm purposely going to lean into it just to show you that I don't care, because it doesn't have any power over me. And it shouldn't, because it does prevent real discussion from being had. Where's my ad blocker? Again, more polling. Netanyahu's Likud takes hit in polls, which shows most Israelis oppose Iran ceasefire. Hey, Likud is taking a hit in the polls, the right-wing extremist party. Well, that's good. Again, also, most Israelis, a lot of Israelis don't like Netanyahu. Yeah, we know that. Okay. The Khan poll had Likud down at 25 seats. But National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir's far-right Jewish Power Party got 10 seats, up from 8 last week. Oh, wait, so the extremism is getting worse. Reminder, Itamar Ben-Gvir, the guy who had a picture of Baruch Goldstein in his living room, and is one of those 10% of Israelis who think terrorist Baruch Goldstein is a national hero. Again, mass murderer. Minister of National Security thinks the Minister of National Security in Israel believes Baruch Goldstein is a national hero. Demented, insane. Whatever you would say about Islamic extremism, you should be able to say about Judaism and Jewish culture, and the degree to which Judaism and Jewish ideology plays a role in this. You can't separate Islamism from Palestinian terrorism. You can't separate Judaism from Jewish extremism and Jewish supremacy. It's that simple. What's more, even the Free Press, Barry Weiss's outlet, acknowledges Israel has an extremism problem. By the way, Haviv Reddick Gur, I like listening to. He's certainly far more pro-Israel than I am, but he's a reasonable person. I could absolutely have a conversation with him. Yishai Fleischer, I could have a conversation. Let's be real, I can have a conversation with anyone. So that doesn't really say much about the person I'm having a conversation with. But I learn a lot from Haviv. Where's the key insight? There's a lot here. But what's one of the key points? I think he says it's upwards of like several hundred Israeli terrorist settlers. Okay, here's the point. Some argue that the violence was either in response to Palestinian attacks or that news it was mere propaganda pushed by Palestinian activists. And indeed, some claims of extremist Israeli violence have turned out to be more complicated cases of tit-for-tat attacks and general lawlessness. Some have turned out to be entirely fake. But these examples are not the majority. A very large portion of the violence, the settler violence, documented and carefully sourced by reliable reporting, is just what it looks like. Extremist violence targeting Palestinian villages in order to convince as many as possible to move elsewhere. This is the Free Press, ladies and gentlemen. So if they're acknowledging it, there must be some truth to it. And the thing that is really bothersome and disgusting and condemnable is the propagandists in the West. And one of the reasons, again, I'm so unconcerned with claims of anti-Semitism by certain people in the media is because they will say things like this. Fucking Christ. I just clicked off the timestamp that I just saved. Sorry, I should not cuss like that. This is Josh Hammer. Josh Hammer has said Jew hatred is built into European DNA. He is the co-writer of Bill O'Reilly's most recent book. He was a colleague to Charlie Kirk, who's deeply involved at TPUSA, and is a mainstream right-wing advocate for Israel. Here's what he says about settler violence.
This war might make America smaller once more.
Josh Hammer, specifically about what's happening on the West Bank at the moment, surely you would be able to freely condemn the appalling scenes that we're seeing of these astonishingly aggressive settlers.
What are the appalling scenes, Pierce? I genuinely asked that question there. I virtually all of what I've seen are information operations. If you have actual clear footage...
Do you think it's all invented?
Most of what I've seen is manufactured from NGOs and various other anti-Israel organizations there.
So you don't think there are any Israeli...
And then Piers Morgan demonstrates his incompetence by just reframing the question, which allows Josh to get away from it.
We saw this throughout...
hang on. Just to be clear, then you don't believe there are any Israeli settlers
That's not what I
running
said. You're
around
putting words in my
terrorizing
mouth.
Palestinians on the West Bank.
Not what I said. Literally not what
So
I said.
you
You're
think
putting words in my
there
mouth.
is?
I'm saying if you can show me concrete proof of innocent Arabs who are being attacked by Jews in Judea and Samaria for no reason whatsoever, other than the fact they are Arabs, I will be the first person in the world to condemn that.
So you don't.
So, and this is the thing. So Josh Hammer is a knowing liar because you know, and I know, and everyone watching this knows that he is aware of subtler extremism. Just like the people at the Free Press, Barry Weiss's Free Press, are aware of it and have to admit it and say Israel has an extremism problem. But he's trying to keep up this lie that Israel's a bastion of Western democracy and all that. But again, Yishai Fleischer from the beginning said very clearly, it's a Middle Eastern country with Middle Eastern values. Judeo-jihadists, one might say. And that's deeply concerning. Now, I do want to show this one thing that I actually saw on the way home from Based Camp, Malcolm and Simone. For people who know who that is. By the way, sir, I'll try and get comments. I'll get to comments at the end. Divid Accord, super sticker. I don't know. Does that say super sticker? It does just, I don't even know what the sticker is. But I appreciate it. Hopefully it's TOS. Thank you. We'll get to comments at the end. But hold on. This is actually very interesting. Wait, Based Camp. Just listening to this. This is a very dark centrist, pro-social approach too. Answering the question, what advice can we give the Jews? What can this humble goy from the prairie offer in way of advice for Jewish people? I say, knowing the condescension and goofiness that associates with that. Anyway. Okay, so Malcolm from Basecamp makes the point that unconditional in-group solidarity is a bad thing. So, for example, when a trans person does something genuinely bad, the trans community rallying around to defend that person is like the worst thing for that community because it makes it seem like the whole community is helping defend this one bad actor solely because they're part of the community. And Malcolm's point is that Jews need to not do that. And it causes anti-Semitism when they do that. And he provides an interesting historical example here. Let's listen.
We make our entire community a negative externality to anyone we're around. And recently, on multiple occasions, the Jewish community has done this in spades. And when I say in spades, I mean to an attempt that is so egregious that I would ask, and like I know we have Jewish friends, I'm gonna put together a plan to stop this, because Jews used to have cultural institutions that were entirely designed to stop exactly this phenomenon. Okay, but these cultural institutions basically failed in the, I would say, 1600s or 1700s.
The phenomenon of unconditional in-group solidarity. That's the phenomenon that he's talking about. Needs to be stopped. And here's the interesting historical example of it.
Oh, what happened after the 1500s for Jews? Oh, is that when pogroms started picking up? All I'm saying is
what existed before then that stopped this? What is this magical dance?
So there were multiple Jewish institutions that when a Jew would scam or go out of their way to hurt non-Jews that were living alongside the Jewish community, the Jewish community would heavily financially punish them, shun them, and expel them.
Wow.
And that is very, very useful thing to do.
To give an idea of how severe these were, we have recordings of Jews for minor, and note this wasn't just for major things. It's noted that for even minor scams or misrepresentations to Gentiles, something was applied to them. It's a Jew word. I don't know what it means exactly. Jews will know it, but it meant that that person's kids were not even considered marriable. So it didn't just apply to you, it applied to your entire genetic line. So just with some research in front of me here, these institutions were called Kehala and Bit Din, or in English, communal councils and rabbinic courts. They were specifically active between 1000 and 1750 CE. And if you do an analysis, so you look for pogroms, this is mass Jewish killings pre-1750, you do have some, and some that were very large, like the Kaminsky uprising. If you just, on average, look at pogroms per year and how severe those pogroms were during that period, and then contrast it with the period after these institutions had collapsed, you see enormously more. Like, it's an order of magnitude more in terms of violence and frequency that you had pogroms after these institutions had collapsed. So just an AI's thoughts on this. Pre-1750, violence was often tied to existential crises, plagues, crusades, uprising, with fewer but sometimes larger single events, e.g. Kaminsky rivaled or exceeded many later waves in raw death toll. Post-1750 saw more frequent, repeated waves of pogroms, hundreds per wave, and this, culminating with the Holocaust, right? So these institutions actually appeared to serve their role. They appeared to significantly reduce anti-Semitism. And the Jewish community has, ever since they collapsed, been demonstrably, I think, weakened in their ability to operate. And the reason I put so much emphasis on you used to have this technology is Judaism as a religion. If they want to adopt something, they can't just go up and be like, I have a new idea about how we should do something. If they can say, here's how we used to do it, look at the pogroms per year when we did this, look at the pogroms per year after we did this, that can be pretty persuasive because you have both a mathematical, a historic, and a religious argument for reinstituting these.
But today...
Very interesting. So as a matter of survival, Jewish rabbinical courts, and I did do some research, Spain and Poland gave Jewish diaspora communities like legal authority to adjudicate their own disputes. So they had these institutions. Like you said, that would punish Jews for scamming non-Jews because you don't want to piss off the native population. So it wasn't just unconditional group solidarity. But people like Josh Hammer, who believe Jew hatred is inherent to the European DNA, will do the unconditional group solidarity, like pretending settler violence isn't a thing or pretending he doesn't know about it. Because he thinks, well, we just have to lie in order to protect ourselves rather than just be honest and try to be pro-social. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. Nobody loves Jews more than I do. Okay? Anyway, ladies and gents. Ladies and gentlemen. Is that all I had? I think so. I think so for now. Let's get to the stream reaction content in the Discord. Reminder, you can join the Discord simply by joining the Patreon for $3 a month. Keeps the riffraff away. Also, we have a book club. Our next book is, oh, look, I have it here. Propaganda by Edward Bernays, considered the father of public relations. And I said we were going to read the whole book by next Wednesday, but I think we'll just read half of it because I'm not a big reader. But, interesting. He helped the CIA and United Fruit basically just propagandize the masses, and he says it's essential. So, that'll be interesting. Okay. Stream reaction content here. Whoops. Also, and then we'll address some general comments here at the end. Okay, first. Giovanni Adami. Thank you for the big super chat. If Jews want to maintain their identity and not assimilate into European ethnicity, then they cannot be given political rights. Well, Giovanni, you're more anti-Semitic than Dostoevsky. And let me tell you, a lot of people would say Dostoevsky's anti-Semitic. If Jews want to maintain their identity and not assimilate, well, this is not true. If your point is, if Jewish people want to, act out Jewish supremacism and not assimilate because, they don't view themselves as part of the nation they're a part of, well, then, of course, it's going to cause incredible amounts of problems. And, a lot of the Dostoevsky type people who wrote quite anti-Semitically about the Jews, one could say, in today's terms, was making this point of like Jews in the Russian Empire and all that. And, you know, it's like, again, a lot of these things are you don't have to be conspiratorial at all. You can just kind of put things very simply. It's like Jews were one of like the only religious minorities in Europe. And every religious minority gets persecuted in virtually every place they're in. So it's like, well, the Jews were being particularly nefarious. It's like, not any more than the pagans in Lithuania. And the pagans had a crusade called against them. The Teutonic Order, the cool crusaders, went out and slaughtered a lot of Lithuanians. So it's like, of course, and then there's also like, there's many instances where medieval kings wanted to bring Jews into their courts and nations and all that. So the whole history is very complex. But yeah, point is, assimilation, I think, is a good thing, no matter who you are. All right, interesting clip from John Doyle. Actual pro-MAGA positions are pretty rare in this server.
Ronald Reagan understood this well.
He said sarcastically.
Well, he famously said, right, you can travel to Italy, but you would never be an Italian. You can travel to France, but you'll never be a Frenchman. You can live in Germany, but you would never be a German. You can pack your bags and live the rest of your life in China or Japan, and you will never be Chinese or Japanese. But you can travel from any one of those countries to establish roots in the United States of America, and you can still be an American, so long as you work hard, you play by the rules, you make your contributions, wait your turn, pledge allegiance to the flag, and obtain your citizenship in the right way.
Despite the fact that he's gone so out of his way to post photos of himself at football games, car races, rodeos, I mean, he's really just doing this like whole Americana LARP. But then he still, every time he gets in front of a microphone, he can't help himself but to articulate this view to audiences of Americans that whatever history they have in this country, whatever contributions their ancestors have made to this country, all of that is equivalent to somebody who comes in and checks the box that says, I know how many senators each state gets, I know what date the Declaration of Independence was signed on. All of a sudden, because that person passed a 5th grade civics test, they're as American as anybody else. That is offensive, actually. Do not let foreigners decide what your identity is and what it encompasses. I understand why it may be very tempting to listen to somebody with a last name that you can't pronounce tell you what it means to be an American, what it means to build your country. I once again, however, implore you to do the opposite. You are not a passenger to your own destiny. You are going to express your ideas so well and so normally and so effectively that the Democrats are not going to win, and then we get to send everybody who's not an American back.
Ronald Reagan understood.
Excellent submission. This is the right-wing perspective on American identity. And I think John Doyle is a little cringe in several ways. I mean, look, the question is, what does it mean to be an American? Is America just an idea? Or is it a people group? Or what is it? Lo and behold, I happen to be writing a Substack on exactly this, and I will preview it for the gang. I wrote this today, and it's totally up for on the mechanics of in-group delineations. One of the most important political projects is answering what is American. Basically, you can have genetic similarity that causes people to be part of your in-group, but then you can also have genetic similarity, and then mimetic similarity is a more recent invention in the last 10,000 years. So then the question is, what are the subcomponents of mimetic similarity? So like Vivek Ramaswamy will say, well, you just need to have the same language and citizenship. You don't need to have the same religion. You don't need to have had the same experience. You don't need to like the same sports. You don't need to like the same movies. And my point is, it's just a critical mass. Like it's like mental illness. You need to check like 7 out of 10 in order for you to be considered mentally ill along whatever dimension, right? So I'll expand upon this in the future, but what is the idea that Vivek is not American is like, have you heard him talk? Francis Fukuyama is not an American. Have you heard him talk? He's more American than any Euro with an accent, okay? But anyway, excellent submission because because it causes good discussion. Literally one of the most well-documented figures of antiquity. This guy was made up, actually. Good memes. Funny because I agree with the premise ahead of time. Not funny if you're a Reddit atheist mod. Resubmitted in 4-panel form. 4-panel form. Did we see this? Before consciousness. I think we saw this last time. No resubmissions, Eric. Oh wait, soy. Is that Rothbardo? Anyway. It was good. Yes, it was good. It was good the first time. No resubmissions. The server has managed 0 days with complaints about the Jewish. I'm going to ban Gurney. It's not complaints about the Jewish, Gurney. It's complaints about the Jewish identity. I don't like this. I don't like you implying. I don't like you erasing the distinction between Jewish ideology, Judaism, and the Jewish. Should we ban him for that? Actually, though, guys. Actually, though, it's quite concerning. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll wrap this shit up. I think we'll wrap this shit up. Any final questions? Okay. We're going to not have spam in my chat. Oh my God. How does my neck support my massive noggin? I get a lot of exercise. I get a lot of exercise in my neck. Dude, stop laughing at my own jokes. All right, anyone. I think we'll wrap it up here. By the way, tomorrow, I'll be streaming with Essential Salts, Keegan, at 5 p.m. And we're going to review some fun stuff and then take some questions from the chat. But anyway, everyone, I do appreciate it as always for tuning in. Thank you for the super chats. Hopefully, clarity can be had on issues of one kind or another. Godspeed, everyone. Peace. Oh, that's right. Sorry, 07's in the chat. 07's in the chat. The Zoomers taught me this. 07 means salute. The Zoomers taught me this. All right. Godspeed, everyone. Peace.